This is Sumter Social, a show about the people, stories, and spirit of West Alabama. From the front porch conversations to community legends, we're weaving together the stories that connect us all. So stay social, and here's the story. First of all, just tell people who may not know where you're from and what exactly you do.
Yeah, so my name's Slade Johnston. I grew up right on the Sumter County, Choctaw County line. The line actually splits some of our family property, but we do live on the Sumter County side, so we claim Sumter County. But yeah, I grew up here, went to the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and then we started some businesses in the outdoor industry and have been kind of full speed ahead with those ever since. I own a company called Trips for Trade, which is a website for swapping, hunting, and fishing trips. Grand Slam Outdoors, which is a brand, and I got my real estate under that. So selling hunting land, farms, which is really kind of more of the day to day right now. It's been being in that business has been a lot of fun. And then a koozie company where we have a patent on a unique different koozie that attaches to like Yeti coolers. So a lot of irons in the fire. But we just moved from Tuscaloosa back to the farm here in Sumter County, and just we're getting married in May, and excited about everything to come there.
That's awesome. So I'm guessing since you're talking about businesses and things that you've kind of just immersed yourself in, hunting and fishing are like a huge deal. Growing up, that was probably a big part of your life, both of you probably.
Absolutely, yeah. But I kind of everybody in my family is very outdoorsy, and but my grandfather was kind of my right hand guy. You know, he took me in the woods every chance I could get, and my dad too when he was off, and other grandfather. But definitely Gary Fortenberry was, which a lot of Sumter locals will know that name. He was all about conservation and land stewardship and in the outdoors. So very fortunate and blessed to kind of grow up with him as a granddad and get to make those memories with him. And so everything I do, it has an outdoor component to it, especially hunting. With all the businesses I'm affiliated with or it has some kind of hunting or outdoors component. So that's my passion.
Did you always know that that was going to be your career, or do you think you started one way and then ended up pivoting to this?
Yeah, I actually went to school for pharmacy, because mom said I could make some money there. I don't know. And then after biology and chemistry, in early undergrad, I quickly realized that was not where I was headed. So, um, kind of just somewhere in those college days, just saw opportunity and went to business school and just kept seeing opportunities in the hunting industry for new ideas and concepts. That's something that gets me real excited with the business I have, is just doing something a little bit different. And then obviously the real estate was a really natural fit with everything we do, and it's been a blessing for sure.
Well, I was looking through, you have listings all over. It's not just in Sumter County. Where all do you sell? What's your region or your area that you're selling in?
Yeah, so my license is with Tutland right now, and we can sell in Alabama and the four surrounding states. I personally have a license in Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and about to finish Georgia. So that's kind of my market, really. But West Alabama is definitely the core. With real estate, it's kind of your personal connections and relationships. And though we do have connections all over the Sumter County, West Alabama side is definitely home. So definitely trying to, especially with moving here to the farm, create more real estate opportunity around Sumter County.
So, what's your favorite property that you have listed right now that you think is like a really cool option for people looking to maybe buy land or create a camp of some kind for hunting?
Yeah, that's tough. I'd say the best one though is one we have near Safford, Alabama. It's about 1,500 acres. It is probably one of the nicest farms in Alabama on the market right now. It's got a little bit of everything: big lake, really big deer, turkey. It's got a big price tag too, about a little over 10 million. So, but that one's the one that's just one of the nicer farms I've seen since doing real estate.
Okay, awesome. So you talked a little bit about land conservation, and I feel living here for 10 years, that is really the heart. It's not, hey, we're here to hunt game and get deer. It's really more land conservation is the focus when you talk to anybody about hunting land or the activity of hunting. It kind of goes hand in hand. It's not just about the activity, but about growing it for future. So, what are some of the things that you recommend for maintaining that healthy property, healthy wildlife? What are those tips that you would say to landowners they need to make sure that they're doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, there's a lot of components to that, but absolutely, I'd say, and I think, right there in Livingston, the Hollies, the Hayes family, Mossy Oak family, that's, they are do probably one of the best jobs in the country on preaching that conservation. And but that is so true. I think for us, what we've always done is, one, I think it starts with, with managing the land, whether that's planning, whether that's timber management, burning. We're looking forward to get a little bit more into trapping now with predators. So there's that land management aspect. Two is just not, like you said, not just going out and killing everything. We try to be intentional with what we do harvest, especially for, like, right now we're turkey hunting. And I'm fortunate, this past weekend I've killed 2 birds myself, and I've hung the gun up for myself for the season. Even though we can kill 4 in Alabama, like, we're going to focus on Macy and my nephews and some guests we got coming in. And it's not like, oh, let me just tag out for myself. It's, let's share that with other people. Let's help other people. And something my grandfather always was big on, and it's important to me, is first. So we love taking people for the first time and introducing them to that, introducing them to it the right way. And I think that's a huge piece for conservation too. So it's a lot of different factors, but that touches on a few.
I think that's really cool too, focusing on people's first. That's a really unique area to kind of serve people when it comes to giving back something that you have. And I think that's a really cool way to do it. Okay, so I watched your proposal video. Well done, sir. And
Thank
you were genuinely surprised, I would say, like based on what I saw. Like
Yeah.
sometimes people literally know. Like if you've been with someone, you probably know it's going to happen eventually, but it looked like a really well done surprise. It was really beautiful. Did you propose in Alabama or in Georgia? Where did you end up proposing? Tell us the story, Mace. Let's have Macy tell us the story,
you.
and you tell us kind of the fillers.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, I had a girls' weekend planned at Purcell Farms near Sylacauga, Alabama, over on the east side, because we love Purcell Farms and we know the family, and it's my 2 best friends' birthday. They're all in October, plus mine. So we get together every year. That's, a given. That's something we were already doing. And they actually had me thinking it was in November. Everyone sold it really well. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till November. We were just dreaming about November because that's when they led me to believe that it was happening. Everybody was in on it. And then I'm like, well, I can just enjoy this girls' weekend in October. And, my friends were being really extra, making sure I had a nice outfit, and my friend did my makeup, which she always does. She's good at makeup. And she got me ready because we were doing sunset pictures. They love to take photos together. I have 2 long-distance friends, Maggie and Lacey, and we were going up to the top of the mountain at Purcell Farms, which we had planned to do, just take some pictures together. My friend's a photographer, didn't think anything of it. And then we get to the top, and I'm still clueless until I'm like, oh, somebody's already up here. It's Lacey that's gonna mess up our photos. Somebody beat us to it. And then I looked closer, and it was Slade and this big setup. And, the closer I walked, I realized my parents were there, his parents were there. One of our friends was there filming. The guy who's gonna marry us, our a close friend, VJ Davis, he was there. And yeah, I was completely blindsided, but I said yes. So
Uh, well,
it was
well
perfect.
done.
It
That's
was so
perfect.
perfect.
We
Yes.
almost screwed it up though. The reason she thought it was in November, well, like, obviously we had talked about, some plans and, an engagement coming in the next year or something, kind of was the timeline. But so I'd been texting her 2 best friends in a group text, and I accidentally put her in one of the messages in the group text with, like, some key planning details for the proposal. So the only thing I left out of it really was the date of when we were talking about, and there wasn't any details saying it was that, that same weekend. So I called her immediately and I was like, well, I screwed that up. And she's like, I assume, you're talking about an engagement. And I said, yeah, mark your calendar for this weekend in November and don't ask me any more questions. And that's it. And so we had her, we pushed that back and just surprised her a little bit early. So it actually worked out pretty
Yeah,
well.
he definitely threw me on the wrong trail, and I was
Yeah.
on it. And I mean, my friends were even like, my friend Maggie was like, yeah, my boyfriend's mom said my nails look raggedy. I was so embarrassed. Can we please get our nails done when we're together? And oh, and I was trying to choose my color in the nail salon, and they were like hovering over my shoulder. I was like, guys, like, get off me. They were making sure that I chose the right color, a good one to get engaged in. I was like, it's my hand. I kind of snapped at them, like, back off. And they were just making sure the day went
'Cause I think
perfect.
they said her original color she wanted was like absolutely not acceptable. So they were really trying to
They knew
help
you'd be
her
mad
hard.
later if you hadn't said anything, I'm sure. So
Yeah, so that was the day in a nutshell, but it was a blessed day. God made sure everything went perfect.
It
well,
was.
and just the text was a lucky accident then, but it worked
I
out. It
ended up
actually made it very
saving, yeah.
easy to think this is just girls' weekend.
I'm
Mhm.
pretty I mean, I'm not gullible. I just feel like to make it such a surprise and just all that it could be, I feel like God just put me a little blindfold on and made me kind of gullible to the details that so I could just really enjoy and really be surprised.
How did you guys meet?
We had some friends. She gets mad at me. I always like to say farmersonly.com, but
Hmm. You're that lonely girl with the hay,
yeah,
walking through the
exactly.
field.
No, we had some friends in Tennessee, Katie and Jonathan. They were just mutual friends that connected us, and we actually went to dinner one night in Nashville, kind of through a connection with them, and then went hunting on their farm in Tennessee and had a successful hunt. We both got a bird that morning, and that
Doubled up.
yep. Ever
Nice.
since then, I don't think we've left each other's side. It's been
That's
good.
it. It was meant to be, right? It was like the double up was a good sign.
Right after that, he asked me to come to Sumter County just to hunt the last few days of Alabama with him. This was early May of 2023. And I just was like, I'm not going to travel for a man. Like, you come and see me. But he was like, well, it's the last. I didn't say that to him. It's just what I was thinking. He said, well, it's the last few days we can hunt. I'd love to take you hunting. So I came and and I just thought it was gonna be low key, me and him hunting, and I ended up staying at his parents' house, met the whole family, hunt.
Homecoming was at church, so
Yeah,
everybody at
we
church.
met the whole congregation. His grandmother, Shirley, who is a pillar of the community, had already been telling the old ladies that that he had a girl in town, and so yeah, I guess our second date was back here, just hunting all our family property and spending time in his hometown, and now my hometown.
Worst case scenario, you got to go hunting, so at least
Yeah,
it wasn't just come visit me. You were traveling
yeah.
to hunt and he was
Yeah.
lucky to get to
I
know
didn't
you
say
better.
come meet the fam or the parents. I just was, come
No,
on.
you ambushed her is what it sounds
I
like.
didn't know
It was
that
your
until
first
I was on
interview.
my way.
It was
Uh-huh.
your audition with the community.
It was, but I found my future husband, so I'm all
That's
good.
amazing. Well, he
Yeah.
obviously knew something to invite you on such a big weekend where everybody would get to know you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all are so fun to watch. One of the things that we've noticed is a social media presence, especially with you, Macy. Like you're a star. The reason I know about you is my husband went to the UCS hunt and he said there's a girl that was there and I knew who she was, but I had no idea and she had to have thought I was a stalker. And I was like, well, were you? Like that's possible. And he goes, I don't know. But then I realized later that I had seen her. I follow her on TikTok. She does all of these really cool videos. And then he saw you at Diamond Gems. And he's like, I had to introduce myself. I was like, as long as you didn't embarrass yourself, that's
Mhm.
fine. But it's really cool. You're from where? Tell us a little bit about your background before we get into your social media and your career.
Yeah, I'm from Gordon, Georgia. It's in the Macon, Georgia area. If you look at the state of Georgia and point to the middle of it, it's 2 hours
Mhm.
from everything, it seems like. 2 hours from
Absolutely.
Atlanta, 2 hours from Columbus, Savannah, Valdosta, every area.
It really is perfectly located in the state.
Yeah,
That's true. Those are all the places you'd want to visit.
about 5.5 to here where we live in Alabama.
Mhm.
I spent 7 years in North Georgia, up in the North Georgia mountains. I went to college in that area at UNG, North Georgia.
Mhm.
Um, Learned to trout fish, fly fish. Just spent a lot of time up there in the mountains. So part of my life was spent there, and I really enjoyed it. But now I'm here in Sumter County. It's very similar to where I grew up as far as just being so rural, not having much to it really, but great people, great hunting, had outdoor experiences growing up.
You were raised hunting and fishing growing up as well.
I was mostly fishing, and then my dad took me hunting some. And once I could drive, I started doing a lot more of it. Just I could get some wheels. And then once I got to college, I got so involved with volunteer opportunities, organizations, um, like Ducks Unlimited, for example. I was just doing all the networking that I could to lead to my career today.
That's awesome. And you majored in what at North Georgia?
I have a degree in graphic design and communications. I applied for my first outdoor industry job. It was an agency where I could work for so many cool clients in the outdoor world that was near my college town. And I applied for it as a graphic designer and didn't get it. So then, like, it was graduation day. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing. And luckily, the boss called me on graduation day and said, I've been thinking about your interview. I really want you on our team. And I ended up getting it the second go round when they were still adding to the team. That was my start in the outdoor industry. And I stayed there for 3 years, getting all kinds of valuable work experience in the outdoor world. And then my TikTok started going off, growing exponentially. I have a lot of valuable work experience in the industry, mostly in PR, advertising, graphic design, event planning, even working with media.
That's
I
awesome.
feel like I've
Well,
done
and
it
that's the
all.
thing is a lot of times if they're like, oh, you're just an influencer. Well, it's not like you just picked up a camera one day and took a video of you turkey hunting. You actually have the basis for the strategies that go into that. And you know what looks good because you're a designer and you know
Oh yeah.
what products are that are out there and what their audiences are, which is kind of what we try to teach
Hmm.
where I'm at with the Integrated Marketing Communications Department at UWA. That's really awesome that you've been able to work on not just design projects, but stuff in a field that you're passionate about. That's one of the things I
Oh
think a
yeah.
lot of students don't realize, especially coming from small towns, that I don't
Hmm.
have to just be in some ad agency. I could do it anywhere as long as my passion fits because they need my skills.
And being in that industry and doing that amazing networking as a fresh out of college
Mm-hmm.
employee, I mean, it was just crucial. And I think the real difference was working there. I was very behind the scenes. But the longer I stayed there, the more I was like, might not be where my value lies, I'm very comfortable on camera, as people probably realize, and I have creative ideas. I have such a platform, such an audience. I felt like my value lied somewhere else with working on my accounts and my content. And I took the leap
Absolutely.
and quit. I relied on some contract work in between until I was able to leave that as well. And now I'm full time with my social and online merch store. So
Absolutely. So I
that's what
got
we
to
got
dig
going
into
over
that.
here.
I
Yeah.
love that online merch, the stuff. I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things, especially for women, no offense, Slade, but a lot of the designs that are around the outdoors activities or in that field, they're either for women, they're super girly and they don't really appeal to
Hmm.
maybe the 20 to 40 something age group, right? So you have a little bit more of a modern flair, but it's not too girly, but it's not a guy's design either necessarily.
Yeah.
But they could if they wanted to, with your colors and your
Absolutely.
choices. And I thought that was really cool just to see all the different things that you do. And I saw you posted something recently. You were basically journaling your trip
Hmm.
with art and with words. And I thought that was really cool. It reminds me a lot about a lot of those art pieces where it's a lot of variety all around one subject, but
Mm,
it works. Like it would be something I'm like a friend of mine who's super into turkey hunting would love to put that on her wall, right? Even if it's
mhm.
your personal journal. So I love to see your creative mind even
Thank
beyond the
you.
videos when you draw like that. That was really a neat thing to me because my daughter does a lot of that kind of stuff too on her own, and that's just kind
Mhm.
of how she processes things. So I think that's really cool to see that you're sharing that with people too. Um, One of the things I think is really I love to see is that you're in a sport that is it's not necessarily I don't want to say it's male dominated, but it's considered a uh, male focus. And there's so many women that hunt, and there's so many women who love to get outdoors and fish and do different things like that. And what would you say? I talked to a lot of the students in our class that work with the podcast, and they're like, I don't think I could ever do that. I'm too nervous, or guns
Mhm.
make me freaked out, or I get really scared about the animals, or, just that hesitation. But there's also this curiosity like, I could I do that? Like, what is your advice when girls are like, tell me how I could get started? Because, or women even who haven't really been raised that way.
Yeah, a lot of people approach me with that same question all the time, and they either word it like, how can I get started hunting, fly fishing, blah, blah, blah. They see me doing these things, they want to do it. But, sometimes it's worded, how can I get started with filming these things and my content? To
Hmm.
which I always say you need to focus on getting 100,000 hours of experience before you get 100,000 followers. And with one, the other will come.
I
Um,
love that.
but just focusing on building your skill set. Um, and then again, when you're filming and you're posting and you have the desire to build an online audience over an outdoor lifestyle, just remember to never trade respect for attention, and um, stay clothed. You can attract the right attention when you respect yourself and keep things very classy. I think in my content, I say that I like to educate, entertain, and inspire. Those are the three buckets that I post on. And I think any niche, any person, anywhere can use that and say, does this post inform? Does it educate? Does it teach? Am I entertaining and making someone laugh? I know a lot of my content is is like that. It's funny, it's humorous, it's lighthearted, it's not too serious, but it's always ethical. We're always doing the right thing, um, and I got young people watching me, just keeping things. And that's how I act in real life too. It's not just an online persona. And then inspire and integrating faith, things that just mean the most. Family, tradition. That's what that means for me in that third bucket. But as far as just getting out there and hunting, fishing, another piece of advice I have is just don't say no to opportunity. Just be a yes woman. Just yes, I'll go, even if it's 6 hour drive on this to attend this hunt. Put
Mhm.
myself out there. Just say yes. So,
Now, obviously, find someone who knows what they're doing.
oh, obviously, I've been on some. I remember in my early days, I would say yes to go on a hunt, and then I'd get there and be like, "What have I gotten myself into?"
Hmm.
But there
Well,
might be someone on that hunt with me that I form a long lasting friendship with, and you know,
then it's
pretty
easier
cool.
to ask questions and be like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and then you have that story, it's like, "Remember when we went on that disaster of a trip?" And yeah, it's just part of
That's awesome.
it.
So a lot of people really worry about like, is it valuable to spend your time like you think you're spending an entire day out there? Like what would you say? Because women also tend to fill their days, they stay super busy. So any free time, why is this an activity you highly recommend to pick over anything else that you might do? What benefits do you get if this is something that you carve out time for?
Yeah, yeah, your question reminds me, I taught an archery class to a group of non-hunters, all women, at Academy Sports event. They're one of my sponsors, and we were doing a women's retreat. They're like, "Oh, it'd be really cool if you you taught an archery class to everybody. We have these bows from Academy. And I was like, well, yeah, has anyone ever shot a bow before? They were like, no, no one. So, and the way I was telling them, I was like, with bow hunting and, it's something that can make you feel confident. It can give you a lot of confidence, strength, just to be able to pull back a bow and hit a target, whether you're hunting or not, whatever you're comfortable with. I think hunting and fishing is something that builds a lot of confidence, that connects you with nature and just changes you as a person. Just it's something to study. It's something to educate yourself on. It's such a healthy habit, just to spend time outdoors. Also with hunting and fishing, um, you can get your groceries, straight from the source. If you're like me and you love to cook, it's just a way of providing for your family, taking it home, getting to dive into those awesome recipes. That's something I really look to take my content forward with is cooking and, definitely tying in the wild game, just for a full circle moment. That's why you should carve out time to spend to spend outdoors.
I think
That's awesome.
there's that component too of just like getting away from the craziness. We always talk about how busy we are and everybody's got so much going on, and it does slow you down some, even though we've, with as much as we do, we stay even more busy. But I think I know for me, especially like on a turkey hunt, like if once you hear that first gobble, my mind's not thinking about anything else. You're locked in. It's like a good, just you and nature and away from the craziness of that we get ourselves into in the world. But I think there's a therapeutic aspect to it there,
Yeah.
and a spiritual component.
So I don't like go insane.
Well, that is really cool. Your busyness actually takes you somewhere where you're forced to stop and like completely shut everything else out, which is kind
Yeah.
of nice. Instead of like, oh, I'm going to this and I have to manage all these different schedules, or I have to be at my job and I'm on a deadline. Like this is an opportunity for you to unplug at your job, which is really cool and unique. And so, and it sounds really wonderful, like you're saying, just seeing the full circle aspect of it, of being able to slow down, encourage people to be in nature, unplug. It's almost like worth the time to benefit you long term. I was not raised on eating wild game. I was raised
Mm.
in Alaska, but I never went hunting. I was always fishing. And you might have reindeer sausage every now and then, but when we moved down here and I married Brett, it was very much like, no, I'm not eating that. No. And he started doing his own processing on a lot of different things. And I would try things that actually tasted really good. And that's something that's gotten me really excited, because I'm like you said, I have a freezer full. I always have meat on hand and a lot of recipes. Like we found new ways to cook it to where it's really tender. And you're like, is this steak or is it deer? You don't know, because you cooked it the right way. And I think that's the key is, if you're did you do it the right way? Did you go with somebody who knew how to help you enjoy it? And then did you actually cook it in a way that actually is tasty and delicious? I think that's something that a lot of times the negative comes from bad experiences, not from actually doing it the right way. So I think that would be really
Yeah.
cool to go and do. And when you're actually focused on trying to figure out how to do it well is a lot of fun to learn that. So
Mhm.
you did mention Academy Sports. You're sponsored by a few really cool products, and I thought when I was looking at these questions like weeks ago, I was like, does she still work at Academy? What is this question? And then as I started to research, I was like, okay, she's sponsored by Academy, and this is really cool, the things they let you do over
Oh yeah.
there.
I have the
Um,
creative freedom.
Oh, and that's so nice. Like, are you able to do stuff with the Meridian location now that you're over here? Like, that might be something
Uh-huh.
that you get to
Yeah.
be really close to a location, and I think that's really neat that you get to work with them. What are some other companies that you've had the opportunity to work with?
I did a big Mountain Dew deal last year. Got to do some awesome, really big things with Mountain Dew, and Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some other ones I have right now, which is very local, regional to us, is Mossy Oak.
Mm-hmm.
Longtime partner. Um, you'll never catch me wearing any other camouflage than Mossy Oak.
Yeah.
Uh, One, because I love it. Two, because the people, the culture, the tradition. Who else? I have Turtle Box. which is
Those are
Bluetooth.
amazing. I'm
Yeah,
like, that
audio.
is so cool. And I've seen some of the different videos you've done, and I'm like, that looks so fun. And anyone with a boat needs one. And
Mhm.
Yep.
anybody that
Yeah.
entertains needs one on a porch. So that's really neat that you get to do that.
Oh yeah. Me and Slade together work with Apex Ammunition.
Mhm.
We have a shotgun shell sponsor. You know, we really need those this time of year. So it's nice that we have somebody to supply them. And they're just over the line in Columbus, Mississippi.
Mhm.
Um, am I leaving someone out?
You've
What
done.
about your cameras?
Yeah, Moultrie's a real big one.
Moultrie. That's right.
How can I
Mhm.
forget Moultrie? They're one of the most important ones. Yeah, Moultrie trail cameras, feeders, all the deal. We love our Moultries. That's all we run, and we have so many of them on
And
every.
it's cool. Like, think about where you were as a kid, and now you've got a camera that will send signal to your phone. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things Brett, my husband, has a Moultrie camera or two out in different places. And literally, you could be anywhere. You could be in church on your way out, and he's there. He's there. Look, and I'm like, okay, but like, we're here. And but it's so, and then like you send it to each other, like that monster came out yesterday, and all of these cool things where you can actually see what's happening on your property in real time and not have to be constantly back and forth when you have a busy schedule. So I think that's
Uh-huh.
really cool to get the opportunity to test these products out and really show people how beneficial they are. So I think that's
Yeah, and
awesome.
they're Alabama based. We get
Mm-hmm.
together with them all the time. They started working with Slade years and years ago and kind of brought me into the mix to have an official deal, and we kind of have that together.
Mhm.
Um, and talk about a company that has just done us well and lets me have the creative freedom. I mean, I'm about to post this video of me putting out cameras via helicopter that we filmed with them, and it's just,
Nice.
you know, the ideas are limitless.
So I have a question. This is for both of y'all. What is your favorite thing to hunt, and where is one of your favorite places to hunt?
Turkeys in Tennessee. Say that?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. Tennessee is just Middle Tennessee is a just super game rich area. I'd say, it's hard. There's nothing that beats for me personally, having success on the family farm here, of
Mhm.
course. But far as where we travel and all, Middle Tennessee is just a lot of fun. Where we,
Yeah.
we had our first hunt together, and
Yeah, it might be a little sentimental bias too, but
Yeah.
because we met there on a turkey hunt, and that was our answer to the question. Yeah. But other than that, I love hunting around here just to be home in my house, hunt 5 minutes down the road, come back, make a cup of coffee, maybe go
Yeah.
back out, and do it together around family. It's just the best. You can't beat that either. That's why
I
we
think
moved back. I mean, to be able to do that, to be able to live this lifestyle, to have kids one day and do the same for them.
absolutely. And I think it's so cool to be able, like you said, just watching my husband and my son and my daughter when they can just go, "Hey, do you want to go?" We can just go, and they just pick up and leave in that minute. It's not like you have to organize anything unless it's somebody else might be out there. That's the only thing you really have to verify is anybody there? Okay, let's go. And so I think that it really is special what makes Sumter County area special because we're so hunting land rich and there's so many opportunities to hunt a variety of things that you can never go without the opportunity to go down the road and do something fun in the afternoon when there's nothing better to do, right? And so
Yeah, I mean, this place is a big old playground for people like us, and this
yeah,
is exactly where I want to be.
and was selling, real estate and seeing that all over this, looking at Alabama as a whole, like we really do have a very great county for hunting, from the deer to turkey to ducks to even some, just small game, just a little bit of everything here. It's a great area. So that's my plug to buy some land and let me know when you need some.
absolutely. Well, and that's the thing too, is a lot of people don't know where to get started. And I think sometimes Alabama's overlooked as a state in a lot of different ways. And we have some really cool industries here, but one of the things is this hunting opportunities that are here right here in the Black Belt are really unique. And that's I've always known about the deer hunting just growing up and dating Brett while he was in school here, and we would go out to some Southern Sportsman and go hunting out there, and it's just really cool to see during those seasons so many unique different people show up to small town Livingston or ML or Geiger or Gainesville, all these places that you would never like that person's new because you know everybody, right? And it's really exciting to see new people and new faces show up because they love the area and they know it's special. And so I think that's really cool too. Okay. Um, if you could go on a dream hunt or fishing trip anywhere in the world that you haven't done yet, what do you think you would do?
Hmm. Huh?
You know yours?
Yeah, I would probably fly fish more out west, whether that's Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, or even like the White River in Arkansas. I would get a lot more fly fishing experience because mostly what I've done has been my little southeast bubble down here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I do.
I'd probably take it back to some of your roots and do Alaska for a caribou archery hunt.
Ooh, archery
On the
too.
list.
That
Mhm.
is really archery to me, like that, like you said, if you can get that going, the confidence boost that you get when you do well with that is really impressive. My level of archery is, I would really love to do it one day. And my friend and I say there is no age limit to that event in the Olympics, so we still have time. So,
Yeah.
that's it. Always does because it really does take a lot of strength and more skill, and you're the power behind it, which is really cool too. So I like that you brought that up too about the archery and going to Alaska is just you can do all kinds of things there, and it's a really special place for hunting too. But it's the time frame and the terrain that can be the challenge. Whereas here, I think it's so accessible to be able to go hunting. So that's really cool as well.
I think on
Um,
that note, it's something I was going to mention earlier. You asked about people getting in and doing it for the first time and all. And, I think you just got to start somewhere. Find somebody that does it. Ask if you can tag along just to watch them or learn from them, or find somebody to take you, or, watch. There's so much available on YouTube and all to just learn and get out there and do it. I think, Macy's kind of, she grew up hunting with her family, but like she really went out on her own to kayak fishing and, and learning to fly fish and fish on her own. And I think that was just, a
Yeah.
lot of that you taught yourself.
I
And
can't count how many days I went just trying to figure it out and didn't catch anything and hung my head and until one day I figured it out. And then I figured a little something else out and
now I'd put your money on her catching more fish than me if we go fishing, because she knows what she's doing. So, but I think with her content too is like, and you mentioned, with what you're teaching the students, it don't be afraid to document and put, just kind of follow your lifestyle and what you're passionate about. But I think what sets Macy apart from anybody else is just how authentic she is, and she loves it. It's real. It's just what she enjoys doing. Yes, she's documenting some of it. You got to film and have a different camera, and there's a little more to that. But she's also not saying, hey, I'm an expert at this. Like, this is the only way to do it. This is just her, what she's learned and what she's learning right now. And I think that's the cool thing about hunting and fishing is you're always learning. And that little journal she did the other day was, just we've hunted now, over all of last season. We did like 90 days straight turkey hunting, and then that was just the stuff that she was learning last week, that she wrote down
yeah.
in her journal. So, um, it's like, even though, I guess especially with her career, you've got this kind of imposter syndrome where you're like, am I really, do I deserve to be working with these brands and doing this? And it's like, you don't have to be a pro necessarily and know everything to get out there and do it. Like, there's other people that are learning from what you already know, and just kind of document what you're learning along the way.
I think that authenticity you're talking about too is really that's what is necessary, right? Like you need to be that because we don't trust anything to be real anymore. We don't, this can't be real every time you look at the phone, right? And I think that really helps with what you're doing to support other people and encourage other people really to try something new, even if it's not what you're doing, but like just to go out and test it or, oh, that looks fun. And she's not like staged and full makeup and out there with lights, and
Mhm.
in a way that it's like some big production. It's, hey, look, this is something fun that I got to do, and it definitely makes you want to try. And I think that's kind of the goal. And I like the picture of the buckets, right? Like the different things
Mhm.
that you want to help people with. And one thing I saw, which I thought was really neat, was your on YouTube. You have a front porch faith
Mhm.
videos. And what are your goals with those videos? What's the idea behind that?
Yeah, I came up with it when I was years ago when I was living in North Georgia because I had a front porch, which I do now too, now that we finally moved into a home. So um, I came up with the name because I love to read my Bible in the evenings on my front porch. It was just my favorite spot because of the sunset and just to relax and unwind on the front porch. And I'd always wanted to do some type of ministry in video form with my platform. Um, but I was looking at it, you know, and just too much, to make it this big production. And I was
Right.
really, when I was like, really, your faith should be as simple as just sitting on the front porch. um, so there it came, front porch faith, and I have all kinds of topics coming that I want to speak on, um, from A to Z,
Mhm.
whatever. I have so many, I have such a testimony and good stories to tell, and a good perspective on life and what God's done for me, and you know, absolutely can't keep that to myself.
Well, and
And
more
ideally, I want to
scripture.
put them out every Sunday. I've hired somebody on my team. I'm kind of looking for some more people right now to help me juggle everything so that I can put more into YouTube and getting out consistent episodes of that.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important too, because there's really a lack of faith focused content sometimes that's not some flashy person on a platform. Even from Christian influencers, you would really feel like this is overproduced or it just seems inauthentic. And I think having someone who's so not meek in a negative way, but really just unassuming, and you're humble and you're like, hey, I have fun, and I have this channel, but I also love Jesus, and this is the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be hard. And I think there need to be more women who are upfront about that. So people that we see on these college campuses and even in these high schools have that encouragement that
Mm-hmm.
I can do all the fun things that I want and I can still love the Lord. And I think that's the number one story people need to hear from those of us who live that. And I think that's a really cool aspect to your history too and your platform. So,
Yeah, and I would definitely want to move forward and to integrate, singleness, dating, marriage.
mhm.
We've walked through all of that.
You know
Tap
where you needed
tapping in
those.
Slade for a few episodes maybe,
Yeah.
and
What
just
not to do,
really
men.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
just serving our people well that watch us, giving them
Yeah.
stuff they're hungry for.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of young people our age have tried everything that the world has to offer and just still feel that void. That it didn't do anything for them. And when I started posting these, I realized how hungry for that truth that people are. Uh, So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I've heard recently is we're like this microwave generation, right? Gen Z, millennials, now the new ones coming. It's like when I was growing up, I had to wait for the phone to dial the internet. And now it's like if it buffers for any second, you're very impatient. And I think what you share with your heart and you both are sharing with like what you get to do every day, hunting, I think, is one of those things that might help us kind of snap out of that. It has to be instant.
Mhm.
It's a patient thing that takes time and energy and just maybe waiting is really hard for a lot of us these days. And I think hunting is one of those, or even fishing, right? You're just like, well, I've been here all day and what am I doing, right? But being patient and waiting for that opportunity is not something people are good at. And so being able to show people what you do and how it's not an instant thing, but it's also a really life
Yeah,
giving thing is
that's
is what.
hard when my videos are under 60 seconds, but
Mhm.
I do try to convey that.
Absolutely.
It didn't
6
happen in
hours
60
later.
seconds, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and they get into it, and it actually forces them to slow down and say, okay, maybe I don't need to be watching an episode right now or doing something else. I need to just be patient. So I think that's a really cool
Absolutely.
skill to promote, so people might actually sit and think about the Lord or connect with him in some way. So I love that. I love that. Okay, we ask one question of all of our guests, and so it's anything goes, right? The tradition that you most love about this area that you would say you have to go do it or you have to um, try it, whether it's a meal or it's an activity or a city function or whatever. What is your go-to that you would recommend?
No, you take that one. I'm new here.
I think it's pretty obvious. Mine would definitely be turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so much to learn there. It's not as easy of an activity to just get into without having somebody take you and learn, but you still can. There's still a ton of videos out there, so don't let that stop you from trying to learn. You can speed up the process with somebody though. But yeah, I just think there's something about hearing the world wake up and a turkey gobbling in the distance and then playing the strategy game. It's definitely something really special. So I know Sumter County has just some of the best and some of the hardest turkey hunting in the country. So definitely try to get involved there. We've mentioned one of our mutual connections, Blake Dial, and their family restaurant, Diamond Gems. I think if you can add a turkey hunt and a steak dinner while you're in town, you'll have a very worthwhile trip to Sumter County.
Absolutely. That's the hot spot, right? Like you go by Diamond Gems, it's never dead. And there's always at least one church van in the parking lot. So from a
That's
completely different town. Now,
Yeah.
I know you haven't been here very long, but what are some things that you've gotten to do that were just community based that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, I remember when Marcia came out with their The Colonel and the Fox film. It was shown at the theater in town that the university owns, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool how Mossy Oak just told the story of their grandfather and Colonel Tom Kelly and how, what turkey hunting means to them and how they were focused on conservation and keeping the wild turkey from going extinct and they had the premiere in Livingston and we went and did a date night and went and saw it.
Yeah.
So I loved doing that. Definitely want to get plugged in more because just being here or anywhere I've been in my life is never enough for me. Like getting involved, volunteering, getting involved with a church, meeting people, connecting with people, making friends. That's what's worth it to me. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing more. And I do love a good steak at Diamond Gym.
We
Always.
did one thing you mentioned. We did the as you talked about the Sumter County. I mean the charter school hunt there in Livingston, and I think one thing she said to me after was just like how friendly everybody was
Yeah.
to meet her and like welcome her to the community. And they'd maybe had seen her online or through some of my stuff and or heard about her or whatever, but just like the people were so welcoming and wanting to just like you know just love on her and tell her like,
Yeah.
hey, welcome. We're glad you're here. And
That was like my first public outing in Livingston, and I definitely felt the love. And around here, if someone doesn't know me, say they don't watch me online, all I have to do is say who I'm marrying, and they're like, "Oh, well, I know his mama, and I knew his granddaddy," and I love that small town feel where, oh, you're marrying him, you're part of that group of folks. Well, bring it in for a hug.
Absolutely. And I think that is a characteristic of Sumter that even as an outside transplant as well. Like I moved in here and didn't know a soul, and literally everybody you met was related to this other person you asked about, and you never felt unwelcomed at all. And there's always something going on even though people don't realize how busy it is here. There's a lot of fun little activities like the movie theater premiere. I That is such a cool thing that not a lot of big towns will let you do stuff like that. And so I do think those are a lot of fun opportunities to plug in and get connected. And they may have never seen her online, and they liked you for you, not because of a TikTok account. And that's what I love is like it doesn't matter if you're a friend of theirs, you're a friend of mine, and that's the feel I think and the appeal for this area so much that,
Absolutely.
and it is like that tagline that we've heard so many times there's something about this place. When you're an outsider, you find yourself saying that all the time. And the people that live here are like, yeah, we know, we're from here. We've felt that something our whole lives. That's why a lot of people don't leave. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know this is like, you're killing turkeys left and right. This is your busy season. That's one of the things I've noticed about turkey season. I feel like it never ends, because David Hawley leads worship with me, and I'm like, "You're here, right?" He's like, "Yeah," and then he walks in his camo to lead worship, and then he's like, "I'm gonna go back out to the woods later." So I think it's really a really cool opportunity to kind of experience something unique, and you have such a long time to do it, which is so nice. And I know y'all are slammed, and you said till May with turkey hunting. At
Yeah.
least every morning you're busy. So I can't wait to see what you do throughout this season. And I'm so glad we got to meet you and hear your story together and your story apart. And we just want to share everybody's story that we can, so that way people know how special it is here, whether you're from here or you're new here, and that you really are the makeup of what Sumter County is. So I appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for what you're doing to promote the county and everything.
Absolutely.